But welcome everybody to the Do Good Fund for our October Salon. We truly have Mississippi royalty here with us tonight, and I'm going to let our curator, Ashley Gates, introduce the royal family in just a bit. But we're very excited. I think the very first photography book I ever owned was Delta Land. And I don't know what about it as a teenager pulled me to the book. So when people ask me why we started Do Good, instead of saying Walker Evans and William Christenberry, maybe I should say Delta Land. But we are so honored to have our panel here tonight, but we're equally honored to have you all here. This is by far our biggest crowd. Don't tell Butch Anthony that. But I think it's a credit to our panel and the great work they do and the legacy that they've built in the world of photography, particularly Mississippi photography. People have driven from all across the state to come here. And yes, I know the traffic is bad coming from Atlanta because every one of you has told me that, and I know. It's horrible. So that's why we like to be here in Columbus. Yeah, y'all please, we've got seats up here. At some point, we got to close the door because otherwise we'll sweat to death. But come, we've got, we'll be very European about our space, and we can all sit real close to each other. But anyway, I want to get going and turn it over to our panel because it's my hope that when they're done, they'll answer a few questions, but we'd love to then have a chance for you one-on-one to come up with follow-up questions. And if you didn't get a chance to speak to one of the panelists before we started, to have an opportunity one-on-one to talk to them. I'm just going to quickly thank and welcome Ashley Gates, who is the curator of our show. Ashley majored in English literature and philosophy at the College of Charleston. And I think that's one thing that I think is great, that she is a wonderful photographer. If you haven't seen her show upstairs, I hope you will have an opportunity to do so. But she thinks about photography and she thinks about place in a way that I think is particularly special, and it will likely come out tonight. I believe that I first became aware of Ashley and her work through a publication and a website called Ain't Bad that was based in Savannah back probably 2016 or 2017. And there was a feature on her and some of her Polaroid images. And I've always been a great fan of Polaroid images. And so there were these great southern scenes that it would have been so easy to drive past, but like so many southern photographers, she saw the value in stopping and capturing that moment, and the images are beautiful. I was looking back through that, and as part of the article, one of the images, may be hard to see, is one of our panelists tonight, Maude Clay. And, it's a very small circle. Like I tell people, I don't have a family tree, I have a family circle. And I think a little bit, that's what Southern photography is. But then I think I got to know Ashley's work through a show at the Ogden. Richard McCabe, the curator of photography at the Ogden, does such a great job of introducing the world to emerging Southern photographers. He's got a great eye and is a great champion of young photographers' work. And so I believe I saw her work there about the same time. We have held Maude's work in the collection for quite some time, and I was thinking that we wanted to do something that featured Mississippi photography or featured her work. So I knew that Ashley was doing some curation. I really liked the way she thought about things, so I reached out to her a year and a half ago, and we started this conversation. And it was incredible when they all arrived yesterday and came in this morning to see the results of all of this hard work from the three photographers and from our curator. And Ashley, thank you for pulling this all off. Thank you all for coming, and I'm going to let you take over and introduce the panel and run with it. Thank you all.
Do y'all want to sit? All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Gates. Thank you, Alan, for the wonderful introduction. I have to say, I did not expect this many people here, so I'm a little nervous, but that's okay. Ooh, I like that slide, Langdon. Ashley Gates, the curator. But yeah. But welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I see some people who drove in who I know, Bill and Harry. And yeah, I'm so excited to be here. This was so much fun and so special to me to put this show together. And when Alan reached out to me a year and a half ago, saying that he wanted to do kind of a Mississippi-centric show, I remember where I was when I got the email, because I thought, I was with Mark, my partner in crime, who's sitting in the front row. And I said, I think he might have the wrong person. I don't think he meant to reach out to me. Maybe he meant to reach out to a different person. I was just so kind of blown away. But again, it's been such an honor, and you're all here for their beautiful work, so I will introduce them. We have Sophia Clay. She is the lovely daughter of Maude Schuyler Clay and Langdon Clay. Yeah, and, and when we were putting this together, you know, there are almost infinite shows that you could put together with their work. Maude and Langdon alone have been collaborating for, you know, 40 years now, right? Yeah, 40 years. And, or a married couple, of course. And, you know, that's not all that unusual to have a couple who, they both practice art, right? But, and they've had a show together, strangely only one, at the University of Mississippi back in 2018. It was called 2 Lives in Photography, and there was a really amazing documentary. That was the name of the show, right? Yeah. And so for this particular show, I thought it would be incredible to have Sophie included, because, you know, I think she resisted the path of art for a while, but then she kind of gave in. And it was amazing to put this show together, because I didn't want it to just be a show about, well, here's the South, here's the Delta, here's this amazing family of photographers from the Delta. I wanted to, you know, avoid having Maude on one wall, Langdon on another wall, and Sophie on another wall. I wanted to mix their work together and really show how they have influenced one another, have kind of collaborated in a sense. And it's behind the projector screen, but you know, they've photographed a lot of the same subject matter in the exact same chapel back on this wall. So, without further ado, do you want me to hand it over to you, Lang, first, to talk about? Okay.
She brought me to this.
Yes, Maude, tell us a little bit about how you got your start, how you met Lang, and just, these are some of her earlier images.
Yeah, I've never seen any of these photographs. No, Lang put the slideshow together, so. That was meant for you. All right. So go to Maude. Oh, there you go. Gosh, this is nice. All right. So this starts with your grandfather. Yeah, he should narrate this story because he's better at it. But it was a family that came to Tallahatchie County, Mississippi, in 1839. The usual Scots-Irish route from the Carolinas down to Tennessee, and then, you know, the jumping off no man's land of the Mississippi Delta. And these are all the women of the family. The one in the middle, in the back middle, is my grandmother, Minnie Maude McMullen May. And those are her sisters and their mother and some of my mother's first cousins. So we're still living in this house, by the way. The guy that took the picture. Oh, the guy that took the picture was my maternal grandfather, Joseph Albert May. And he was wild about photography, not, you know, as a vocation, but more or less as a hobby, because he was growing cotton and being a judge and a lawyer in this little bitty town of Sumner, Mississippi. She tells me the population's now 275, but I've always said 400.
I think we Might both be wrong.
Yeah,
It's,
but anyway.
it's a very small number.
This is my mother with a sling on her hand, and she said that the whole thing was faked out because she wanted to wear a sling or a cast or something, so she told her father, who just absolutely adored her, that she needed a sling. But it looks like a good photograph. He did a great job of photographing his family and some of the workers out on the place. This is me. We have a cousin, my mother and her sister were close, and my mother's sister had Bill Eggleston as a child. So he took this picture of me when I was about 9. I promise you I've never seen this slideshow, so I'm kind of winging it here. Okay, this is me and Bill Eggleston back in the day, in I think maybe 1972. We were roaming around from Memphis to New Orleans, and he was working on his famous video called Stranded in Canton.
Well, we appreciate you including Paul Peanuts, which was a Columbus-Georgia-based company.
All right. Yeah, I don't think he put the peanuts in the Coke, but that would have been a good idea. All right, next. Oh, and this is a picture that I took of Bill on that one of those trips. And he was photographing the famous photograph of his called Peaches. It's a dye transfer, and I think it, like went at Sotheby's for $1 million recently, but my photograph is him taking the photograph. And here I am in 1973 in Memphis. You were doing... I was starting to take photographs at that time. I was going to the Memphis Academy of Arts. And basically, this is one of my photographs, but really my early work was emulating Bill Eggleston's work, because I saw what he was doing, and I was his assistant, and I put that in quotes, because all we ever did was ride around in the right light. But this is, Lang's put in some of my early color work. That's an old drive-in theater in Memphis. Gas stations. No, cigarettes hadn't been that too. Yeah, true. Well, you can see, where I got my ideas from the color photography. It's really straight from Bill Eggleston. I don't think they're bad photographs, by the way, but more.
I don't think I've ever seen any of these photos.
Really? Well, you need to come curate sometime. Yeah, that's the other thing I need to say is Ashley was just absolutely, a slave driver looking through all the work that we had, and she found some real gems. This is my mother, me, and my grandmother sitting on the porch in the house where we live now in Sumner. I call it Gray Garden South because it was built around 1910 and it sort of needs some work. But Langdon's a great Mr. Fix-It. This is my grandmother, Minnie Maude McMullen May. And he did, my grandfather did some beautiful portraits. I think I was inspired by that. There she is. That's my 1973 picture of Nana, as we called her, out on the cotton farm. And this is a man named Jasper Staples, who worked for the family for a long, long time. And Langdon's really covering the waterfront here, y'all.
Oh, that's great.
And this is also Jasper Staples, and he had several wives, but this was his last wife, Jessie May, and she had a real tragic story in that the husband she had before, the sweetest man that ever lived, Jasper, but her other husband was a real meanie, and they were getting a divorce. She left him because he was also a wife beater and just not a nice man. So somebody rang the doorbell, and it was somebody in a little old lady's costume, and she answered the door, and the last thing she saw before she went blind forever was these men's brogans, and it was her husband, Percy, and he threw battery acid in her face. So Jasper took care of her until she died.
He was wearing a dress, right?
Yeah, Percy was wearing an old lady's dress and a hat, and so she just thought it was some neighborhood person calling on her, but it was really him throwing the battery acid. That's a sad story. I'm sorry I had to lay that on you. But, and then this is Jasper Staples and my father, Maude Schuyler. You might notice that there's a real connection to a more famous picture of those two that was taken by Bill Eggleston in front of a white car. I think it's one of his greatest hits. Okay, cut to New York. I don't know if y'all knew it, but they do have, places, doggy funeral parlors and stuff like that. And my friend's dog, unfortunately, met its demise, and she had a kind of a wake for it at this funeral home up on 96th Street. I thought it was a great photograph. And this was on the Lower East Side. I was just walking around. This was back when, the ABC area, Avenue A and C and all that, you just didn't go over there unless you absolutely had to. And now it's a very gentrified area of New York City. But the guy came and I was taking a photograph of him. Can you go back one? And so I said, "Can I take a picture of you and your dog?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you want me to go get the cat that my dog just killed?" And he goes around the corner in this alley, grabs his cat, makes this whole tableau for me to photograph, and I'm shaking like a leaf. But again, it was a great photograph.
When I was starting to work on the archive, and I found this photo and immediately asked, what is the story behind this? And it was beyond what I ever could imagine it would be.
Well, this too, before I came up with kind of the concept or the organizing principle, I should say, of entries, I originally was going to kind of focus on just you just stare mortality right in the face. You're not afraid to shoot pictures like this. And I kind of wanted it to be in that vein, but I think that still comes across. But this was one that I had in mind.
I was fearless back in the day.
Yeah.
But this one did give me a little shock, I have to admit.
It still shocks me, and I've seen it many times.
I don't know what else he has in store for us.
Then you move it back.
Oh, this is...
And you come back.
Yeah, this is Eudora Welty's kitchen in Jackson, Mississippi. She was quite a character. Wonderful, wonderful writer and photographer.
And oddly enough, Bill Eggleston has a shot of that. Different.
Yeah. 6 degrees of separation with Bill Eggleston in my case. There he is. That was in his house in Memphis, and that dog's name was Bart. That's all I remember. And he was a pretty good subject. And this is Jasper Staples and Lucille Fleming, another stalwart, wonderful person in our family. And that's my elder daughter, Anna. And they were so good about coming over to see her because supposedly they retired. But they still wanted the connection, you know, with our family, and it was quite lovely. All right, we got through that part. All right, now
Okay,
it's
so I don't know if this works, but here, okay. All right, yeah, good. But I think one point to make is that you came to a point where you were using the square. And I personally think you're kind of a master at that. I can't do a square, it's very hard, but you have a way of making all the elements in an image work in a square. And now you're doing it again with this little Leica. That was Rolleiflex, a lot of the stuff from Mississippi history. Anyway, I'm taking you to another era. This is 1968. I had been in boarding school in the 60s and was making movies with friends. And I got tired of organizing people and their schedules and so on. So for spring break, 1968, I got $75 and I went to Olden Camera, no longer in existence, off of Herald Square, and bought a Pentax Spotmatic 1A and went up to the St. Patrick's Day parade. And Robert Kennedy, yes, the father of the one we now have at HHS, but was running for president. And he was the major domo, whatever you call it, the guy that runs the parade for the of course, the Irish St. Patrick's Day parade. So this was my first roll of film. No, you don't see him. He's not there. I don't think I even saw him. But it was the event that inaugurated my career, basically. And this was the Elizabeth Arden doorway, which is red. But this woman, there she was, all ready for Kennedy to come by. And I mean, of course, 2 months later, he was dead. Martin Luther King was dead. I mean, you know, so it was a momentous period in our history, not unlike stuff that's happening now. But, okay, yeah, So, the point about that is I went home and got in the darkroom and went out and bought, if you remember, Agfa Bravura paper. It was graded 1 to 6. So I got number 6, the highest contrast. Just go back one. Well, and I thought, well, this will be cool. We'll make it really high contrast. But today, people are doing similar things, taking it with digital cameras and then running it through an app that will make it look like film. So it's not so silly. I was doing it back then. All right, you can go 2 ahead. I still like the picture, although later in life I preferred the one where you see the other guy in the doorway. But here it is in my closet with all the film. All right, you can hit the next one.
That film is the daunting task that I have.
Yeah, right. So when you begin, I'm sure many of you have had this. Where do you start? You start with your family, those around you, the places around you. So this is my mother and my sister, who's now 58 or something, Abby, great aunt in Philadelphia, Anna, smoking. She lived to be 95. And then I started to see, my dad was a writer, and at dinner bad puns was kind of the coin of the realm. And so I tried to apply that mental gymnastic to visual things. So you end up with the the two guys with the collars and a dead dog. I had not at the time. I hadn't. So anyway, it moved from my family to trying to do street photography. Just a kid on the bus with his favorite baseball cards. There's a string of them. At LaGuardia Airport, believe it or not, they had TVs you could watch. So of course these are black and white, which is significant for me because later I changed. All right, you can hit that. So I'm always still trying to connect dots of something that's happening with something else that's going on behind it. It's kind of like in Renaissance painting, there's a backdrop and then something is happening. That's just sort of how I look at the world. So it's street photography, but in the end, there was a lot of competition. There's Magnum, there's Cartier-Bresson, there's well, yeah, and then the really good ones, Friedlander and Winogrand and so on. So you're staring at spending your life doing this against people who were way better than you, or doing something else. So, some of these are fun, but you need a city for street photography anyway. It's just, that was the 70s. That's how it was. What can I say? I used to go under the World Trade Center and take the PATH train to Hoboken, and it was much more of a neighborhoody place. So I'm still trying to, this is just a few years ago, I can't help it. If I see it, I'm just going to snap the shutter, but it's not the main thing I'm after anymore. All right. So what I did was to move away from that, get an 8x10 camera. So that was my first 8x10. The pictures tell the story. Then I did some nature in Vermont where we lived. A building burned, and then this was the building next to it. They obviously had some kind of secret thing going between the buildings. There was something different about a bigger camera, and in a way, so I would see scenes like this, and come back with an 8x10 and kind of isolate the important stuff. So this is now history, of course. You don't see banks of phones. You don't see Coke machines with pop tops where they leave a little place for you to put the pop top. This world is gone. That was just the Erie Lackawanna station before you went over to New Jersey. And every guy that worked on Wall Street that lived in New Jersey, he came through there. Somehow I thought it was important to make a record of it. I still do, but I switched to doing portraits, again, of friends, but with the big camera, which is different enough in that you're entering history. Both the taker, the photographer, and the sitter have more of a sense that they're entering history. I don't know what it is about it. It's slower, there's more detail, all of that. So this was in the very first show I had in New York. It was a little teeny thing this big in a book and a show. So then I switched to color. Oh, yeah, actually there is one more that ties it into this show. Oh, wow. So once I had the 8x10 camera, it switched to color. which I did with cars, if anybody's ever seen them. It's a whole other ballgame in color. So I found a way to get away from what I knew I couldn't compete in and try to do something in what I thought I could, probably foolishly, but here we are.
I disagree.
Anyway, so that's, oh, and there is one, there, that building there, which is taken with 8 by 10. Do one more, Mark. So this is what happens now in the Delta scouting, but you're just standing there, you know the building, you know the colors, that car, that woman with that sweater is there. What are you going to do? You just have to snap away. So that's all I got. It's just the early years.
Yeah, and the title of the show actually came from looking at the work in threes. So there were so many images that, and it was really the largest batalu. This is our grid, and each, a 9 by 9, whatever, but each photograph has, a three, a unit of three in it. And I just thought it would be a good organizing principle, I guess, in order to create little vignettes throughout the room. But it was really from those two photos, Lang, that I thought there's so many, I don't know, it's harmonious. It feels, there was something that was really compelling about that to me.
Well, I'm glad you did, because here we are.
Yeah, I am too. All right, Sophie.
All right, I guess I'm up. So actually, this is not the first image on this slideshow, but that's okay. We'll start here. It doesn't matter, really. There's no particular order here. A lot of this, actually, first I'd just like to say thank you all for being here. This is such an honor, and to be in this show with my parents. I was emotional walking into this, seeing these works printed and all of our work meshing together in a way that I never quite have. And so I want to thank everyone at the Do Good Fund, Ashley, and my parents for making this happen. This is so special to me. Really. It's my relationship to photography, as a rebellious child and the daughter of two artists, I said, I will never do that. And there came a point where I had to have an outsider come to me and ask me to join her in her endeavor in photography, in wedding photography of all things, which is a very different ballgame. But she kind of roped me in, so to speak, and I'm very grateful that she did, because it took me a long time to even acknowledge, even when I was photographing weddings, that I was an artist or a photographer. And this show is evidence of that in such a special way. And so I gave in to, I succumbed, if you will. But it is such a special thing to be able to share this with my parents, who in their own right, individually and together, are some of the most amazing artists that I know. I mean, there's such genius in both of their series of work, and I think for a long time I didn't want that obvious kind of comparison to their work, and with this I'm reveling in that. Like, there is something that makes that so significant, and to feel how special our relationship is. I note that not everyone has a relationship to their family the way that we do, and even my siblings, they're 8 and 6 years older, so that's part of it, is that I was dragged everywhere with them. I was taken to all of the museums, all of the house parties, all of the galleries, and for that I'm so grateful. I was never upset about that, and I think that's maybe what kind of led to where we are today.
I did take you to Windsor maybe 1 or 2 times.
Too many, yeah. That,
Windsor Ruins, I don't know if any of y'all have been there, but the little Polaroid back there.
yeah,
there's a
by
photo
the
of Sophia and her
third
mom.
spring break of mine that we went to Windsor Ruins, I was like, all right, we got to find something new. And then what was the place, the Fort Gibson or Port Gibson?
The church with the hand on top.
Right, but there was a creepy, Rodney, the lost town of Rodney. Do some research on this because it's the feeling that you experience there. Even as a 12-year-old, I knew that there was something eerie about this place.
The river changed, the Mississippi River changed course, and therefore Rodney became a ghost town. Eudora Welty wrote about it.
I'll have to read that story. I have not yet read it. But so a big part of my journey in photography has been documenting the place that I know and love. I'm the fourth generation to grow up in my mother's home. And there's something so significant about that. And all photographers. And I think for a long time I took that for granted, and now I very much do not want to do so. And so I don't know if you guys, I'm sure some of you have been to this house that we call Grey Garden South, appropriately, yes. Christy recently did a beautiful article in the Bitter Southerner, an expose of this crazy, crazy town. But when you roll into Sumner, Mississippi, it's almost like time slows down a little bit. And then you walk into this crazy-ass house. I mean, with signs that are stolen from the side of the road everywhere. Excuse me. There's a sign, liberating kit, in the back of their car. The kitchen is filled with them. Well, most of them are not on the ground. I think one of my more recent favorites in that is Dad, who almost got shot at when he stole this one. It's a sign that's, liberated, this Jesus 2020 sign. And yeah, so I'm glad that you're still with us today to tell that story.
Yeah, I'm hoping they were warning shots,
I don't think they were, but that's okay.
least
I'm
you
glad
missed.
you made it.
but
Yeah.
we got out of there fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole house is this collection of beautiful objects and things that are very particular to both of them. And if you get the opportunity, it's one of my favorite things about them is that there's an open door policy. So if you're coming through Sumner, Mississippi, of all places, this tiny ass town, you have a place where you will have a wonderful meal and great conversation. And growing up there allowed me to meet people that, you know, you just wouldn't even fathom. Like Sally Mann coming into the door. Who gets to say that? So in retrospect, I
Actually,
know.
I have to say my favorite photograph in the whole house is taken by Sally of you as a 4-year-old
Shoes
in a-
untied.
in a kudzu cave. It's the most beautiful thing. I don't know if many people have ever seen that.
I don't know if they have either, but it's also one of my favorites. So as I started documenting this house, and not all of these photos are the house itself, which this photo, I think is somewhere, yes, already taken by Mom. Some of these are recreations intentionally and not intentionally. And there's something about the way that the light comes into this house and in the Delta in general. There's just a golden tone to it that I have not found anywhere else. This chair, how many generations have experienced that? Yeah.
It's the one that broke.
Yeah,
when I
this
was
is the
there.
one that Ashley broke when she was house sitting.
No, I did not break
She didn't
it.
break it. She didn't break it.
I thought you had evidence that it was someone on their lawnmower.
No evidence.
Yeah,
but
it was Corey. The next
all
door neighbor was
speculation.
mowing. He was being very sweet and mowing while they were out of town. And there had been a windstorm the night before, and I woke up and I went out and just to see how many branches had fallen, and the chair was knocked over, but it looked like it was in one. It looked intact, but when I picked it up, it just split in half. It was already broken, and I think he may have tried to make it look like it was
Like
still.
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I had to tell them,
I
hey,
think we
your chair is
all,
broken.
each of us, have photos of this.
Did
in
you really think
every
it was me?
season.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just giving you a hard time. It also relates to the beautiful house sitting show that is upstairs. Everyone should take the opportunity to see Ashley's black and white photographs of this home. And so, yes, another thing that I would like to note is how special Ashley is to our family. It's chosen family, really. You have become a huge part of our existence, just in general. So to be able to do this with you is also very special.
Don't make me cry. Come on.
What can I say? I'm
Yeah.
feeling very emotional.
Yeah,
ladies and
I am
gentlemen.
too, and it's been incredibly special to do this. Yeah, it's
we've all
and
grown
Christy
closer.
Bush and I were talking before the show about their home really is like a living museum. I mean, it's really unreal.
If anyone has advice on how to you guys
Declutter.
don't worry about it yet, but at the time when they are no longer here, I would like to work on preserving it and having, it be an artist's residency. So if anyone has advice on this.
Any funding out there?
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mark, if you could roll it. Thank you. This is one of those liberated signs, one of my favorites. The other one in this kitchen that I love so very much is TV equals toxic waste.
That's my favorite one.
And at the bottom, it has Revelations 3:18 or something like that. All of these liberated signs have a Bible verse attached to them, and none of them really correlate. Some of them do, but Dad once looked them all up and printed a PDF of each of the actual Bible verses.
I think I suggested to Maude a few years ago that this one needs to be made into a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I think that would be. Would y'all buy one? If we made it. Okay.
This
Yeah.
will fund the artist residency.
Or TV as toxic waste would be a good one too. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I would
We'll
too.
have two for one. This one, this one I call the Reformation. I think I got you both of these actually. The solar panel, they move in the sun. We have so many different little figures and figurines and things around this house, and that is just such a funny one. Again, this light in this house is so incredible. All right, if you'll keep rolling, Mark, I'm sure people are kind of getting sick of this. So these hands, I wonder why I have such an affinity for hands. We were having a discussion with Hannah Israel earlier, and we were.
Travis said yes.
Oh, fantastic!
All right.
We're gonna cast our hands tomorrow. But it's one of those oddities in this home, and I don't know how to explain it. People ask me what this house is like, and I say, you come in and there's a table with just hands. I do what you will with that. This is the front room, and there's something about the way that the light comes into this.
3 of
Oh,
the
yeah.
Polaroids are actually on the wall over there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's so cool.
The Windsor ruins there, and then where did you take that one, Link? Bottom right.
That's at Monticello.
Monticello. That's what I thought.
I
Yeah.
did a book on Monticello. It was just me
Yeah.
and the night watchman. It was
Right.
fantastic.
Aw, yeah. That's special. It really is. And you know what? I think that you don't smile like that for anyone else. And that is such a privilege to be able to capture you in that way. I have a couple of photos of you where you really I feel your warmth. Yeah.
Hand out oyster socks to anybody else either.
That's true. Those are just for you. There's another one, and you can't see it, but the just say no. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, I remember those
That was
days.
Nancy Reagan, right?
Yep.
I'm right on my history there? Okay.
You are a little before your time, but yes.
This is one of my absolute favorite photographs because just like my mother, I am not a morning person. And so for him to be able to get me up at 5 a.m., 5:30, and we go out into this field where you'll see all of these. We've taken this photo many times, many iterations.
Yeah, she's
of this.
taking the photo of him taking that photo that's
Yeah.
hanging. Or that one, sorry.
And what a wonderful patient teacher you are in this process, because there's something that I learned from you that's not necessarily the technical, and I think I learned from you more of the technical side of things.
I hope so.
And yeah, I mean, just the way the light comes into this is one of my
But
favorite
you-
things.
As regards 8x10 camera, you can see the gravity that machine lends to anything.
I'm not gonna lie, my neck hurts also, but that's okay. All right, I don't know. Oh, look, there's Maude. Yeah, so we can kind of roll through this a little bit faster, but yeah, so we're going through the wrong slideshow, but that's okay.
I felt the same way.
And I think this is the end, yeah.
All right.
So I guess we'll open it up to questions.
Be
Does anyone
kind,
have any
please.
questions? Yeah. Softballs, please. No, I'm kidding. They can be tough ones. Okay. Hi, Christy.
Hi guys. What? Can you guys hear me without a microphone? Oh. Hey. It's kind of a comment and a question at the same time. But I love the idea that when you hear Lang talk about starting with what's familiar, right? Starting with your family. And I love the fact that you, that makes this noise. Is that weird?
I think you're too close to the.
Man, I can't find the right place to sit tonight. But I love the fact that you start with the idea of like what is familiar to you, right? The family, I think it says. But that you join Maude's family, she brings you down south, and then you come back to family, and that this whole endeavor is kind of a continuum. And that the same subject matter keeps coming up over and over again. And then I wonder sometimes how you feel when you go back to a building that you've been photographing for decades, right? And then it's not there anymore. Or, do you realize it's going away, or is it just gone one day? Like how you feel when these things aren't in your continuum any longer.
Your own mortality is what you
Well,
feel.
Yeah,
I think
it's kinda
that's what's
devastating.
really
Basically.
important too, and I always say this to anybody who's even half-assed about being a photographer. If you have your camera with you, and if you take the picture, even if it's not such a great picture, you will have a record. You have a record of the place, the history, the time, it's important.
And if they haul you in, you'll have an alibi.
I was just here taking some pictures. Yeah, I think it's really, that's a good question, Christy. But we've had our hearts broken by lots of places that disappeared. I mean, just about every single thing in Delta Land that was a building, that was 1999, not so very long ago. But so many of those vestiges of the agricultural area that we grew up in, they're all gone, like the mule barns and the cypress.
St. Paul, right?
Yeah, the
we went out.
churches,
Yeah.
the field
Yeah, that's-
churches.
But this is not, of course, new. Walker Evans experienced the same. Eugene Atget in Paris, Christenberry, of course, trying to save. Well, trying either to see the decay or to save something before it was fully demolished, like
So
in
you
Paris.
end up, I think, as a photographer, you end up as a type of archivist, even if you didn't really start out with that in mind. It's important.
Yeah, I don't think that I ever even set out for that, but having grown up riding in the car with both of you and, in some ways against my will, but also,
She was a captive.
but also a captive audience. Let's be real here. I enjoyed it. It was not something that I hated by any means, but I also was a part of that in noting these buildings and then watching them deteriorate. And so I think that's a big part of my work as well. And I, in a similar way as Dad, I like to bring in how nature reclaims something that's man-made. If you go to Mississippi in the winter, things are revealed through the trees, and you'll see an old tractor that's breaking down through there, an old building that's falling in, and then in the summer the kudzu just eats it, and so you have no idea what's there. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I was trying to say with that, but I've been a part of this archival for a very long time.
I think we might be obsessed
Oh, you
as a
think?
family. But does anybody have any other questions? I know you.
Well, moving on. Any other questions?
So is there a photograph or a set of photographs that's particularly impactful to each one of you in this show?
No, I mean, well, speaking for myself, I'm not exactly, Bill Eggleston, who says, everything is like the democratic forest where everything, from a piece of trash to something that has a weight of, the same. Some things are more important to me than others, but this is an edit that I was really delighted by and kind of shocked in a way to see the way Ashley put together our photographs. Because, we have thousands of photographs that we've taken over 40 years or so.
100,000, I would
Yeah,
venture to say.
It's a lot.
And I just think it's interesting that this is the way she edited and chose these photographs. So I'm not calling any favorites, but, talk to me later after a glass of wine.
Well, I don't think I have favorites. They're all my babies, and I love them.
You don't want to kill any of your darlings?
No, here's the thing. At the time you take a photograph, it's the best thing you ever did. That's what's fun about it. Even after almost 60 years of doing it, 5 years later, maybe you don't feel that way. But at the time, you do. But still, later on, when you're archiving and going through stuff, they're all your babies. Well, it's like a journal, and the pages that are written on, only it's celluloid or prints or whatever it is. Anyway, I don't play favorites.
I do, and I think I think this set right here along the wall where Dad's being cutting the film, the clip of Mom. So Mom took the photo of Dad with the film. Dad took the photo of Mom, and I took the photo of Dad there, and which is kind of my ode to Vermeer, man with a pearl earring. Man with a pearl oyster. And Ashley and I were talking about it earlier, how there's a translation of, it's a journey, right? So you go from the younger days, and then they're all kind of a tool that's in his hand. So the tool of the scissors, and then you've got the camera on the highway, and then you've got the oyster shucker. And to me, that's such a huge part of who you are. We have nicknamed you Mr. Fix-It at Grey Garden South because there are many things to fix. And I think that set is really such a beautiful one.
This
Look at
one's, it's one of my favorites too. Yeah, the Swiss Army knife. I know, on the spreadsheet, this one, I had just kind of little names for the groupings just to quickly reference, and this one was cutouts, because Langdon's cutting with scissors, you know, and this gorgeous light that Maude just, she's a master at, you know, and then I loved the cutout photo on the dashboard of Maude. And then, you know, he's shucking oysters in the last one, and there was something. Yeah, I love kind of the narrative of seeing him over the course of his life, and him kind of looking inward at Maude and
I think
the journey.
everybody should be absolutely so honored and lucky to have a couple of archivists like y'all, you know? I mean, we just do this stuff, but to have somebody interpret it and, you know, appreciate and curate it and, you know, love it and say all these beautiful things about the work that we've done. It
and
just means a lot.
Back up one little step for Alan to as an umbrella on top of all of that, moving it forward for the rest of the
Yeah.
world.
Thanks, Alan.
So
Thanks,
you.
do good. And I want to thank. I really especially want to thank Alan, and the whole Do Good team has been incredible. Honestly, I mean, this was so seamless and so easy. I've never quite had an experience like that with an organization or whatever you call it. Yeah, it was great. It was really wonderful. Thank you, Alan.
Well, thank you. And one thing that we love is to have the opportunity to complete the formal part, and everybody has a chance to have one-on-ones with our panel and speakers tonight. One thing about Do Good is it's truly a collaboration. What makes Do Good are the people sitting up here tonight and those of you in the audience. We first acquired Maude's work almost 10 years ago, and the friendship and partnership continues. This is a unique show. We engaged Ashley to help put this together, and it's the first show that we've organized that's going to travel. And so it's headed next to New Orleans, and we'll be in New Orleans during Photo Nolo. Woo! Yeah, December 13th, we're going to reprise this in the 1019 Gallery in New Orleans during Photo Nolo. I'm really excited. But when we acquire work, we feel like we're adopting new members of the Do Good family. And I think it's very evident tonight. Now, they're here for y'all, but we want to claim a little bit of credit. If you're a photographer whose work is in the Do Good collection, raise your hand for a second. Jimmy Nicholson, Jerry Siegel, woo! Chuck Hemmer, Jared Ragland, Ryland Steele, Jill Frank. So these folks have come from Oxford, Mississippi, from Auburn, from Atlanta, from the Corn Center, to be with us tonight, and we really appreciate that. That's what makes Do Good so much fun, is that if someone borrows a work and they're showing it in Birmingham, I think about who are the photographers that are nearby, and nobody says no. Everybody's willing to contribute, and it's truly a collaboration and a partnership, and that's what makes it fun. So how many of you here tonight consider yourself, when people ask about you, one of the first things you say is you're a Southern photographer? Raise your hand. Come on now, there's some timid people here. There are a lot of people that, and we're all photographers today with cell phones, but I know there are some people here today that are serious about their craft and keep up the good work, and it's exciting to have the opportunity to bring y'all here. Our mission is to collect photographs taken in the South since World War II and to put on museum-quality exhibitions around not just the South, but around the country. And this is an example of that. We're honored to bring y'all to Columbus and do this. We're going to have another great show in New Orleans and hope that we can find even other places to show this work. let's break up the formal part and give everybody a chance to stand up and spend time with our photographers. Thank you all.